give microphone to Ryan and Todd. And do it, please, because children make some sounds on the background. Sorry for that.
So hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we have the next two amazing guests. We have Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller, the authors of the book Fixing Your Scrum. So today I was actually looking for that book because I own it, but then I remembered that I did lend it to a peer of mine, which shall be unnamed. Yeah, and if you like to consume content in English language, we do recommend the channel Agile for Humans. Todd and Ryan have amazing podcast as well. And guys, the more you can get from Ryan and Todd, the more knowledge you're gonna get and more experience about being a true good Scrum Master. So, as for our initiative, so we have a few new people. So I'm gonna tell briefly about who we are and what we're trying to achieve. So we're called Agile with Ukraine. Artem and I, we are amongst the core organizers of that initiative, and we were looking for a way how to help our country. And with this initiative, we do raise money for Ukrainian people and Ukrainian army, which is, and we are raising this money for the Ukrainian fund, which is based in Warsaw, Poland, from where a lot of help ships to Ukraine. And yesterday I shared the information that since the war started, more than 140 buses were organized and packed by this foundation, and they went to Ukraine, and more than 125 big trucks, TIRs, were also packed and prepared, and they left for Ukraine with help. So the sum in weight of the amount of help that was shipped to Ukraine by this foundation is more than 3,000 tons. So you could imagine how much it is. And about this foundation, so they started their activities in the year 2014, when the first time Ukraine was invaded by Russia by an action of Crimea, but also with the aggression on Donbass, they started helping Ukraine in 2014, and formerly they were known as the Initiative of Heroes of Maidan. Then they rebranded themselves and they became the United Foundation. And for 8 straight years, they were supporting Ukraine, and also they organized a lot of great initiatives like Christmas Without a Dad, which was dedicated for kids who lost their fathers in the battle for Ukraine's freedom. So right now we're raising money for three main directions. So first direction is humanitarian and medical help. So as for medical help, the medical help would also go to the bomb shelters and the shelters where people are hiding from the Russian missiles. But also we do prepare and gather money for the tactical medical kits that are being used by doctors who are on the battlefield. The second direction toward which we are raising money is Kevlars and helmets, because right now Ukrainian army consists of two main parts. First one is Armed Forces of Ukraine, where we have trained military professionals, and they are more or less, let's say, equipped. But we also have something called the Territory Defense of Ukraine, where we have volunteers or the veterans, and we don't have Kevlars and vests for them. So we're trying to provide for them that stuff. And right now we have more than 100,000 men and women who are in reserve. It means that they want to join to fight for Ukraine, but right now they just don't have the gear for that. And also we are raising money for tactical equipment like night vision, thermal vision, drones, even boots, gloves, etc., etc., etc. So we ask you for donations to help Ukrainian people and Ukrainian army. If you are feeling uncomfortable about donating for tactical equipment or Kevlars and helmets, you would have the ability to write in the note section that you would like to donate money for humanitarian help. As for how to donate, we have a website in Polish. It's called Zrzutka. You can easily donate over there, but for our peers outside of Poland and European Union, we also have the PayPal, which is super easy to donate. Artem will share all of the information in the chat. But also we have a great incentive from Todd and Ryan themselves. So Ryan, Todd, would you tell us more about what you told us.
Yeah, so we're more than happy to. So what we asked was, can we tell like the proceeds from each meetup, and it so whatever is donated, and we're going to put a cap of 5,000 US on it, but whatever's donated as a result of this show, Todd and I will match. And so we're more than happy to support the effort, and we hope that everyone out there donates and donates big so that yeah, we can get the humanitarian aid, especially to the people that have been displaced and impacted by this whole situation.
Crucial to donate today. Okay.
Push donate. It'll get. We'll match up to 5,000 US.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks a lot for being here. And now maybe to the cool part where we give you the mic and I shut up and we'll listen to you.
All right, Todd, where should we go?
So I think we're going to go to Mural, because as the saying goes, it's not a meeting these days unless you have a mural or a Miro to go with it. So we're going to do some activities. It'd be boring if we just sat and talked to you. We're not big fans of single direction communication, right? So we're going to put a link to Mural in a chat. And if you want to hop over there, if it asks you to log in, you don't have to log in, right? You can just enter as a visitor, hop on over there, and I think we're going to run some activities here today. If everybody's cool with that, everybody want to have a little bit of fun with that?
Cool. I like it.
Just give a moment for everybody to hop in. Looks like we have some people come in. Cool. We have another person joining right now, so I'm going to hop over there for the Mural. And I think we'll start with maybe a introduction carousel. Give everybody a moment to just like kind of chat a little bit about themselves, a little bit about Scrum, right? Because that's what we're here to talk about. Fixing Your Scrum. It's a book that we kind of co-wrote together. Actually, we did, not kind of.
Definitely happened.
Yeah. What we're going to ask is that we're going to put you in small groups, and we'd just like you to talk about a couple different things. My biggest strength as a Scrum Master is, it may be if you're not a Scrum Master right now or you never have been a Scrum Master, we're going to just assume that you have a little bit of experience with Scrum. So what would be your biggest strength in Scrum if you've never have been a Scrum Master or you're a Scrum Master, or you've maybe been a developer or product owner or something like that. And then an area where I might improve with Scrum is, right? And we have this up here in the top. If I had a magic wand in the bottom left, if you had a magic Scrum wand and you could change anything about your organization with just the swinging of a wand, like Harry Potter, what would it be? What would that be? And then the last TV show I binge watched was, I think just if you could put some sticky notes down here, kind of highlighting the conversations that you had within your groups. I'm gonna throw some sticky notes here as pilots, yeah, have a good chat. We're gonna give you maybe 7 minutes to go out and do this in small groups. To leave a sticky note in Mural if you haven't done so already. If you just double click, it'll lay a sticky note down. You can also, from the left-hand toolbar of Mural, you can scroll over something that looks like a sticky note on the top left-hand side. The toolbar of Mural's on the left-hand side. Looks like a sticky note. You click on that. You can drag and drop it down from there. Yeah, that'll be that.
All right, I'm going to open these up. Have a great chat. Here we go.
Hello, maybe I'm gonna pause the recording here.
Short. Oh no.
Very, very complicated questions for this time frame.
Right.
I don't know where the timer was. In Miro, there was a timer, but I don't know where Mural the time was supposed to be. So maybe that was what it was. I didn't see it.
Oh, it was at the top. At the top of the model.
Yeah, it's on the top.
Oh, was it? Oh, I wasn't looking. So I'm not very good at this, am I? I don't even see properly.
Yeah, so this exercise, one, serves a few purposes. One, that you get to talking to someone else besides us talking to you. 2, that we validate that everything on Zoom and in the tool is working. And 3, that Ryan and I can read the room a little bit just by seeing the answers to what we have here. Understand that it's never enough time, right? So it looks like we had enough that we answered the top 2 questions. We'll go with that. Our questions are only going to get more difficult. Maybe, depends, kind of. So if you're just joining, we have had a couple people just join. Put a link to a tool called Mural that we're going to be using in the chat. Friends who've been here for a while and are in and using Mural, we're going to ask that you help each other out. Ryan, what do you see on this board?
You know, I'm going to go up to an area where I might improve as a Scrum Master. So more Zen, metrics, being patient. Man, that's us, isn't it, Todd?
Mm-hmm.
Being patient, that's a big one. Like I'm gonna make that one prominent. Patience is huge. Facilitation, keeping your opinion, becoming better explaining the needs to management. Yeah, actually speaking in terms that are meaningful to leaders, right? Instead of, oh, it's Scrum, yet well, what does that mean to them? It's really important. Bigger picture thinking. There needs to be less of me. Yeah, we need to become less. The teams need to become greater. That kind of concern. Definitely a big aspect of servant leadership. Yeah, some good, humble, honest introspection here. I love it. What do you see, Todd?
Yeah, I'm going to hop over to my biggest strength as a Scrum Master is respect, adjusting to change, creating a safe space, keeping calm, facilitating communication between multiple cultural teams isn't ever present with what we're doing nowadays, right? If there was any positive thing to take away from the pandemic, I think it's that we've really been able to harness and develop a lot of collaboration online like this. Like a meetup like this would have seemed possible, but not common 2.5 years ago. Now it's common and totally possible. So I'm pretty stoked about it. So I think that those were the 2. We started to see some TV shows. Succession, I know Ryan, you're a big fan of that. Foundation. I actually just watched Bad Vegan the other day, a documentary. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Never
Sorry, go
heard of
ahead.
it. Do you recommend it?
Bad Vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. I did.
Cool.
I liked it.
See some things over in the magic wand, people over processes and tools. Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? To get a truly people-centric culture. And then, of course, there's some other wishes in there that, yeah, I think we're going to keep going. All right. Todd, where should we go next?
Yeah, so we have more people joining. If you could click the link, we are going to use Mural for a portion of this program. So if you want to hop over there, we're going to put you in small groups, and here's what we're interested in. We're assuming if you came to a talk about fixing your Scrum that you're probably using it or have it at some point. And so oftentimes what we find, and what led Ryan and I to writing a book, is that a lot of things are happening in organizations that are making Scrum bend to the organization rather than the organizational change to accommodate Scrum, right? So Scrum is a really good problem pointer rounder, but what we found is that a lot of organizations aren't fixing the problems. They're just, some of them even blaming Scrum for it. And so what we're interested in here is for you to make a list of things that your organization that your organization differs as compared to what Scrum describes, right? So how does your organization differ as compared to what Scrum prescribes? This would be one idea per sticky note, please. So one idea per sticky note on this board. We're going to put you in small teams and have you have a conversation about it.
Right. Here we go.
Thank you for reminding me.
All right.
So, for the recording, and I believe that it might be a good idea to share screen so people can see what we're talking about here for the recording. So can everybody see my screen? We'll debrief this way. Can you see the what's different board? All right. So we ask you this: what's different? What's different in your organization than what Scrum prescribes? Quick to compromise quality. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
that one.
Scrum values are different.
Hmm.
Management more involved than they should be. Whoa. Oop. I broke a post-it.
Wow, I can fix it. It was mine.
I'm sorry about that. Planning what is wanted instead of what fits according to the team. Why do you need feedback from Mural users? Just listen to the PO, user story, or points and estimation. Yeah, there's lots of stuff here, Todd, that's outside of Scrum that's different than what professional Scrum would teach, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because Scrum is surrounded by so many complementary practices. And what we find is we go and talk to organizations that are using these complementary practices, and they pile so many on top of them, they forget the root of what Scrum is really meant to do, right? Which is implement empirical process control, inspection, adaptation, and transparency through the events and the artifacts, right? And so that it gives you a chance to implement empiricism, learning by experience on your product and your process. And so what we found is that all of these complementary things make Scrum convoluted in a lot of instances. And it's been my reaction really to go in and start ripping them out, right? Do you really need a burn down chart? Do you really need a release burn up chart? Do you really need to be using story points? Do you really need to be using job stories? Do you really need to be doing this? And before you know it, you can get back to the root of what Scrum is really intended for. Now, this is not to say that complementary practices aren't necessary, right? Because they absolutely help. But to be stuck on the same complementary practices in every context probably isn't going to work. Probably isn't going to work. Should we transition now? Get a little wicked, Ryan?
Yeah. Let's fire up some wicked questions.
Yeah.
So what we want you to do is take this difference, right? We want you to think about these differences that you've highlighted and come up with some wicked questions. And so I think it's important to define what a wicked question is. So a wicked question creates kind of a nasty little paradox that we have to deal with in our own spaces, right? And so, for example, how is it that you're raising your children to be very loyal, attached to family, yet we want them to be independent individuals simultaneously, right? Two values that are opposed to one another that we're trying to cope with and deal with, right? So another one is, how is it that a product owner deciding scope and a project manager that owns the budget? How do we work in that space simultaneously, right? How could ownership ever actually happen? What we want to avoid are the nasty questions. So now what you have on your board here, there's some really good stuff here. There's ways to create these paradoxical situations, but we want to avoid the snark. We want to avoid the overtly negative, right? So an example of a really nasty question would be, how is it that we're trying to adopt Scrum and being forced to cope with internal bureaucracy simultaneously? So that's kind of a nasty question. It's kind of defeated. We're not gonna make some good insider progress there. And so what we're trying to do is balance each side of the question. We want two reasonable things that are opposed, but not necessarily skewed heavily negative. Does that make sense? And so your board here is a great source of ideas to try to balance. They can give you one or both sides of the equation. This idea of a wicked question might have sparked even some more differences. Feel free to add, right? But in your teams, in your groups, what we're going to ask you to do is develop at least one really good wicked question that describes kind of a situation perhaps you're facing or a paradoxical situation that all Scrum teams are going to have to cope with. Does that make sense? Todd, would you add anything there or are we good?
I think we're good. I think we're good. Really strive for balance. It's easy to fall into the nasty question category, right? Really strive for balance. This will create a little bit of a magnifying glass on some issues that you might be working on in your organization.
All right. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to open the rooms up. Have a great discussion, and we will see you back here in a few minutes.
Just 1 second, Ryan. I'm going to share the Mural link here. One more
great.
time, just for people.
And we're back.
It was awesome exercise.
Yep.
Do you like wicked questions?
Yeah. We
This can-
created
this can-
6.
this can really unearth a lot of things that you didn't think about in particular ways, right?
For me, it was just a typical preparation to my another talk on conference. But yeah,
Any questions?
I prefer nasty questions.
Any
Nasty
questions? Did they stand out to anyone? Any questions that just you're looking at that just kind of like, wow, that is a question.
And who is the judge?
You're the judge. Whoever speaks up, the voice wins.
I thought it was a really good exercise, Ryan and Todd. It really got me thinking actually about the yin and yang, that you're doing something, but you're not doing something. One of our team came up about quality, that you're still delivering work, but the quality is not there. So I really like this exercise.
Awesome. Yeah, I see your question. How is it that we are delivering products to users and we are still compromising quality simultaneously? Such a big question, right?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
How is it that we are agile and responding to user needs and we're dealing with a never-ending backlog simultaneously? So, does that imply that we are or are not actually dealing with user needs? Like, these questions you could dig into as a team or as an organization and really learn some hard truths, learn some serious areas for improvement. What we love about this activity is that it really cuts to the quick, and we really have to think about two paradoxical things that we value and try to sort and really figure out how to reconcile that, right? And I think these questions represent some deep work. A lot of the times we can ask very shallow questions, and not shallow as in a negative, just the questions aren't very deep, right? These wicked questions are very deep. And sometimes it takes time to contemplate and research and think to actually really work through them. And that can be both, it can be humbling and difficult, but also rewarding when we get to the other side of them. So I think it's really well done here, Todd. Anything sticking out to you?
Yeah, I highlighted a couple. One just kind of made me chuckle because I think that this is one that would trigger a Dan Vacanti rant. How is it that we are using expedite lanes yet trying to control flow simultaneously? Because Dan Vacanti, if you're familiar with his work, will tell you that one of the number one things you can do to kill flow is to implement expedite lanes. Right. I saw one. How is that we are committing to scope and we are doing Scrum simultaneously? Right. We enter this conversation quite a bit when we talk about the way that if we're a consulting agency, our contracts are structured with customers, because our customers oftentimes want us to commit to scope. So how do we change that? Right? How do we change that? And for anybody that's been through a PSM course, how do we change that without serving a squirrel burger? Right. There's another one. How is it that we are implementing empirical process control and we are still planning the whole year in advance simultaneously? Interesting. Oh, how corporations want us to do this, right? Budgeting conversations start kicking in around November. It's a mad dash to have everything in by December. And then your whole year for the next year is planned exactly for what you need to be able to do. I wonder how that worked out for companies in 2019 as 2020 hit, say around March. My wife's company was a full-time work in person company and didn't have allocated any kind of, but I mean, we're talking like a 90-person company. My wife is a data analytics manager at this company, and they still had desktop PCs. Nobody had laptops because everybody was in the office. There's no reason for remote work. Everything happens there in the office. Wonder how their planning worked out in March of 2020 when they had to buy everybody laptops. Right. Interesting how we're kind of stuck in our ways here. Those are the ones that stuck out. And I always have to highlight ones about velocity just because.
Oh, I love this one.
I like picking velocity arguments.
How is it that we're delivering work and we are still being questioned over low velocity simultaneously? What a great question, perhaps delivered in a kind way, but a great question to have between Scrum Master and leadership, right? We're delivering value, but you're still focused on velocity. Why? What is it about that? Very, very good questions that you've come up with here, and hopefully they've got you thinking a little bit. Todd, I think we have a nice way to wrap this one up.
We do. Well, I think we'll do is we'll wrap this one up in a small group activity and then just do some open Q&A stuff. Is that good, Ryan?
I like it.
15% solutions.
Yep.
This is the way that we prefer to look at the world when it comes to solving problems, because it can be really overwhelming to look at something like that velocity conversation, knowing all of the people that you need to talk to, all of the people that you need to comment about it. So the way that we like to present it is, what is something that you can do that's within your control that will get you 15% closer to moving on the side of the question that you'd like, right? So this isn't to say, remember, we avoided nasty questions. These are just things that are rubbing against our ability to implement Scrum as it was intended to be implemented, right? So what is something you can do that's within your control that you don't need permission for, that will get you 15% closer to achieving what you'd like to achieve? So I'm gonna put a whole bunch of sticky notes down here. I can't count right now, so I don't know how many I need. I'm just going to pretend like I gave enough that are here. I think we'll do super small groups, 5 minutes. Leave yourself a letter here behind. What we'll do is we will export this in PDF and PNG and give it to our awesome coordinators here today to ship out to everybody after this. And then, yeah, so 5 minutes in small groups to think about something that you want to take action on after this.
Right here.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Or good day in your case.
Good day. Yeah. Good evening. Good day. Good morning. Good to whatever it is that you're on. I'm going to share screen one last time. Let's take a look at some of these things that we're going to do. Encourage people for innovation. Like advocating for the team. Just do something. There's a really good book. Think about this. It's a really good book. It's called Don't Just Do Something, Stand There. It's about meetings, and it's about how poor our meetings are and how you can properly lead and facilitate a meeting. Don't just do something, stand there.
Good
I think
book.
in this case, it's a good idea to do something now, right? Swarm.
Read more. We know a good book to read. Move away from velocity. Encourage people. I like these. Have more conversations. Think about product choices. Live by the Scrum values. There we go. Those values can really raise you up. Nice. We're seeing some good 15% solutions, and we can't wait to see or hear how those solutions help.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ryan. I think I was telling you this morning at 5:30 this morning when we were starting our day that somebody was last night messaging me on LinkedIn. That person might be here today, and asking me questions. Someone was asking me questions about how they hear a lot of the stuff we talk around velocity and why we don't like it, right? And they say, how can you say that you don't like something that you've never used? And I said, wait a second. I actually used to be a proponent for story points and velocity. And what happened is the implementation in a lot of organizations was nothing near what the intent of the original creation of them was meant to be. And over time, I got so worn out of fighting the malintent of velocity that I knew there had to be an alternative. And luckily around that time, I had started experimenting with cycle time throughput. And then a year or two later had met Vacanti, and he kind of put all that on steroids. And so they were like, oh, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to they said they weren't trying to throw daggers at me or anything. And they were like, but how do you get a team to do that? How do you get a team to start that? How'd you get any of your teams to start that? And it's actually quite simple, in my opinion. Start paying attention to work item age during a sprint. How long have we had something active, right? And then from there, you can say that's enlightening, right? Then you start having a conversation about limiting work in progress. How can we have 10 things in an active state for 6 days? That can't be healthy as a team, right? and then kind of build from there. Start small and build. So I don't know, slight tangent there because I was on LinkedIn last night doing some stuff on LinkedIn.
Very good. Well, that's the end of our mural, and I know we have a little bit of time left. More than happy to open it up to Q&A. Anything's fair game as far as Scrum and Agile goes. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to field them, or we're happy to give you back your evening. So either way, everybody wins. But if you have questions, feel free to unmute and let us know.
We're gonna remind once again, because we had new people join in, that this initiative is main goal is to actually raise funds to help Ukraine. So you have in the comments in chat the information how you can donate. Don't forget to donate. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, I
And
think
share in our networks.
I'll make-
Share in our networks so that other people can donate too.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. And thank you, Andrei, for saying this, not pushing me to say it once again, so people think I'm greedy.
I'm going to donate large, so Todd and can match it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Can I just quickly go back to the throughput, the Kanban method? Well, not the actual Kanban method. We don't like the Kanban method. But my question about the story points and throughput is going to be, how do you start the conversation off right at the start of a product about the client and the product owner to get them on board that we're not going to do story points, and we're just going to say we're going to see how it goes for the first sprint. You've got no data or anything to go by. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but
You know what?
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's great when you get going, but it's at the beginning where it's the hardest.
I'm going to jump in here, Todd, and then if you want to add to this, I think you measure both. So go ahead and measure story points. Go ahead and measure cycle time, throughput, item aging, and WIP limits. And then every time a decision is made, take a look at which metrics are being used. And over time, perhaps sit down with the product owner and say, look, we've made 10 key decisions about this product in the last 3 months. And every time we are looking at our lean metrics, we've not even used velocity once in the decision making. We're forecasting, we're doing simulation, all the questions you're asking are being answered from these 4 simple things and some Monte Carlo simulation. Can we stop dropping velocity because we're not making meaningful decisions with it? I think that to me is one of the more compelling ways to be able to get rid of it, is to just demonstrate that we're not making any meaningful decisions with it, and that we have better tools that have helped us make intelligent choices along the way. What do you think, Todd?
So I can tell you how I used to do long-term forecasting. What I used to do with long-term forecasting is I would get a team into a room and we would do a PBI writing workshop, and we'd break epics down into as many PBIs as we could. And then we would use affinity estimation to estimate them in story points. And then we would plan a sprint and use that as a guideline and guardrail for how we would project our velocity for a release burnout, right? That seems a lot more complicated to me than what it would take to do that using lean metrics. So first, I'm going to tell you, 75% of the PBIs that we created during those sessions were complete and utter junk, and we never touched them, right? Our forecasts at that point were complete and utterly inaccurate because we had no idea what we were getting into. But we used something like a release burn-up to initiate conversation, right, during a sprint review and say, this is where we are based off of where we think, and this is where we think we are forecasting, right? So what you could do is you could get, let's say you want to call them epics, right? Something big. You have 5 really big things. Have your team facilitate a session where they break that down into as many PBIs as you possibly can think of, right? And then take that, plan a sprint and say, okay, right now, knowing what we know, we think we're forecasting that our throughput for the first sprint is 7, and we don't have that much data on it, just like you wouldn't have that much data in story points. And in fact, story points are made up, right? You have no idea. In fact, your team doesn't understand them, even though they say they do. Right. And by the way, your stakeholders don't care about them. They think it's some weird thing that you picked up at the Hogwarts thing at Disney World. Right. Like they really don't care about story points. So you start talking in terms of throughput and cycle time. This is common language that people are familiar with. And you start saying like, this is a big guess because this is our first sprint and we have no historical data. And it's real data, it's cycle time, it's stuff that they can understand. And then you just say, but the more we know, the further we get into this, keep coming back and asking questions in this review. Or we will make sure if someone that's probably going to yell at us that we are talking to them. So you're taking the affinity estimation using story points out of what I used to do and just planning a sprint and using throughput. And that is totally imperfect, but as you get more data, you can provide a better probabilistic forecast that way. So I know that was a really deep answer to it. And that would probably be a great podcast, Ryan. But that's what I used to do as compared to what I would do now in a brand new, let's say, greenfield effort where you're required to provide a release roadmap.
Well, Todd, I think that's your daily scrum for the day. So we're going to just remember what you said and we'll go record that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like Will Ferrell in Old School. I'm just like, what? I don't know what happened. Just
Sorry, guys, don't.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Just to end, sorry. I think that's where your post Jesse with ProCanvan missed a big chunk of it. Where you just said you slowly transitioned to work item agent, and I know all of that stuff, but it's the beginning bit, how you got there, I thought was the most interesting bit, which wasn't there. And I think that was the biggest teaching and learning. But yeah, I think it's great anyway.
Justin is who I was talking about talking with on LinkedIn, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Justin was the one that was asking me questions. And I appreciated your approach, Justin. Thank you for the way that you approached that. You were like, hey, listen, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm really just curious, which is like always awesome. Like I appreciate how you did it. And I think it was missing, but a blog article can only be a couple paragraphs, right? We have you for 3 sentences in a blog article. If we don't get you in the 3 sentences and start getting our point across, you're gone. So
I know.
Well,
I know.
that may be a good opportunity for a video.
It's a good point.
I have a comment or a question, and forgive me, I'm going to kind of like try to pull to kind of reiterate what you said. And I think what I'm trying to do when I say this is just validate that what I heard. So first of all, I joined late, but thank you for sending out that last minute email so that I was able to do that. My name's Stormy. I'm a product owner and I'm from Florida. So but the question or kind of the comment, like just talk through this is when you're talking about throughput, so these more common terms that would be universally understood as opposed to story points, it sounds to me like not only do you have some more universal understanding, but I think you touched on this a little bit in that the ambiguity in story points where, for instance, a story point to one team versus another team or even individual members of the team doesn't translate across the board, right? So it doesn't mean the same thing. We could, there's ambiguity in how much work it potentially will mean, but even more ambiguity in the sense that, you know, a story point isn't the same for one team, isn't the same for another. Whereas you're talking about throughput and actually, you know, like actually measuring time, these are far more, these are, they're not abstract, you know, these are concrete terms. So, right. So my question is that what you were trying to get at, or did I miss that point?
No, I think you just summarized it well. And here's why I will caution though with this, right? As just with anything else, if you start to put pressure on a team to increase their cycle time, or let's say decrease their cycle time, then the same problems that happen with velocity will still manifest themselves in your team. Quality will suffer, burnout will suffer, right? Like, so these are not things that you can game or put pressure on a team for. It just is information and it is what it is. It's meant to invoke additional conversations It's not supposed to be a guiding principle that I would gamble $1 million on, right? Like, but yes, Stormy, your summary is correct. And I just thought that I would throw in a warning there a bit as an additive.
I appreciate that. One other thing I find is that when I'm talking particularly with people who are, I have been fortunate to work in teams where I am able to be literally a part of the team. But I have found, particularly as I listen and engage in these types of groups, or even hearing things in different podcasts and things, that the product owner is almost kind of a dirty word, or there seems to be some real friction between, you know, dev and product owner, where I have always kind of considered myself a part of that team, an advocate for the team, an adjunct to the Scrum Master. And so yeah, that's not, yeah, I would be going back for my team over and over and over again and making sure to figure out what they need. So, but I may be approaching it different, or maybe wrong. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I come from. I've never felt that friction between the teams that I work with.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a fortunate place to be.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're right, as your senses might tell you, it's not like that everywhere.
How else can we help? Guess we're all set.
They put everybody to sleep talking about metrics.
Then I'll ask, what is your most popular question you get during your trainings you're really tired of to answer on it? So like when another participant of your trainings will ask this question, you'll make like, oh, again, okay, guys, I want to tell you. Do you have such a favorite question? I know you have. Can you share?
Yeah, Todd, what's your favorite?
How to pass PSM free. Yeah.
Yes, how to pass the. So I'll be honest. When we do, so we'll ask at the beginning, like, what are your big learning objectives? When we get asked, how do we pass the test? Is where we kind of sit there and we go, ugh. And of course we get it, right? Because we all want to be successful. We all want to get the credential, but it's one of those where if you're really attentive during the course, that will take care of itself. And so, we don't teach to the test, but we teach the mindsets that help on the test. And so it's very hard to give a direct answer. It's have a lot of experience, pay attention to what we teach, have a good understanding of the Scrum Guide, make sure that you're keeping professionalism at front of mind, make sure the Scrum values are present in your behavior, make sure that empiricism drives the majority of your decisions, that you're actually acting on things that are observable and confirmed, not just conjecture. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And at that point, it's like, how much can we say? But that question comes up a lot, right? What do you think, Todd? Is that yours too?
Yeah, I think it might be. And it's not that we don't want to help people pass an exam, but I think that coming into a class, I think it's really like we get really excited to interact with people and see what Scrum's like in their organization because it's everywhere. And it's, the other one it's going to bring up is probably our most popular YouTube video is, what does a Scrum Master do all day?
Yeah.
Because this false notion that and LinkedIn job descriptions are very supportive of the fact that the world views the Scrum Master as just a level below a project manager, as somebody that fills the K-cups up. And we don't believe that to be true at all. We actually think that's a big time problem in the organization's success with Scrum. So it'll be like, oh, Scrum Master, you could do that with 5% of your time as a developer. And we're like, so you don't need advanced facilitation skills or coaching skills or organizational change management skills or product management skills to help your product owner, or HR skills if that's maybe an area that you want to step into to partner with your HR departments, or budgeting skills to talk to accounting about budgeting. I guess that stuff just comes with 5% dedication, right? And so like, what does a Scrum Master do all day? that kind of like triggers into me. And I'm just like, a lot more than really meets the eye. And this is probably one of our biggest problems with how Scrum is implemented in most organizations, is that it's viewed as a step below what a project manager was.
Well, and through writing our book. So if you look through Fixing Your Scrum, there's probably 50, 60 anti-patterns. Every one of them, Todd and I have committed at some point in our 20+ year career. And what we noticed writing the book, it was an insight that we had towards the end, is that the majority of the anti-patterns come from a Scrum Master who's either not fulfilling their role or is not empowered to fulfill their role, right? And so when you see the Scrum Master either lacking that accountability or is deciding not to step into the spaces where they're supposed to, anti-patterns just pop up everywhere. It's actually, I would say, the #1 source of anti-patterns in Scrum. Which is why we wrote a book for Scrum Masters on how to fix their Scrum, right? I mean, we're trying. So, and to tie it back to the previous question about assessments, yes, we want to help people pass and we want to help people be successful, but we want to see the impact of professional Scrum on the lives of the people we're teaching, right? It should make people's lives better. And that's what we want to see: joyful work. We want to see successful work. We want to see products delivered. We want to see customers happy. We want to see value put into the world. And if you happen to get a certificate along the way, awesome.
But do you not think one of Scrum's downfall is the word facilitation? Because I hear a lot, you put your hand up, can I help you? Do you want to be coached? I can't give you an idea unless you say you want an idea. So that's kind of not helping.
Yeah, there's this, I mean, Scrum's downfall is kind of strong language. It is the #1 framework used by Agile teams globally by far. Like every survey, the state of Agile, all of the surveys and censuses and everything that they test and measure, Scrum is the de facto standard in the Agile world, right? Now, is it done well? I think that's a compelling question. That's a question that keeps me up at night. Is it being done well? But I would tend to agree, when the Scrum Master gets diminished down to, you don't have permit, you're not allowed to take any direct action. All you can do is facilitate. Even almost turning the Scrum Master into kind of a doormat or a pushover. I think that's a false reading of the Scrum Master. I think that's bad Scrum. I think a Scrum Master is fully empowered to take direct action in certain instances, that they should be able to coach and mentor. I mean, coaching and mentoring is by invitation. Right? I can't just walk up and say, I'm going to coach you now. That's really weird, right? It's kind of creepy, right? There are certain aspects of the role where the Scrum Master does have the right to take direct action, where they should be upholding Scrum, where they should be promoting the Scrum values and working with leadership and management in different modes. And so I think we leave a lot of value of the role on the table, because we refuse to accept that sometimes you just have to make a decision and go forward. There's this hesitancy that we kind of see that I think holds a lot of Scrum Masters back. And so in professional Scrum, we teach, I mean, there's the 8 stances of the Scrum Master, and I think Barry Overeem has come out and revised that to 6, but there's still some direct action in those 6. And in our PSM course, we definitely teach that sometimes direct action is just the most appropriate thing to do. So I think, again, it's one of those where we need to fix our mindset around the accountability.
Can I just ask one final question? I don't want to take everyone's time up. But this thing about the Scrum Master is only invited to the Scrum meeting, the daily Scrum, right? What if the team goes, no, Justin, we don't want you. We're going to do it ourselves.
Perfect. Scrum Master did an awesome job if that happens.
We love it.
That meeting is not for the Scrum Master.
But then you just go, what did they talk in there? We want to know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as they're delivering an increment of valuable product by the end of the sprint.
Yeah.
I don't have to be curious about what my team is talking about if I have done my due diligence and have them understanding what they need to trigger conversations with me for, and how they need to trigger those conversations. I don't even have to worry about it, because I know that if they need me, they're going to get in contact with me.
Okay.
Cool. Great questions. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.
All
I
right.
don't even
Looks
know
like
if
that's
there's
it.
any questions.
Yeah,
It's late for a lot of people, I guess, right?
who knows? Maybe yes, maybe not.
You can always visit youtube.com/agile4humans and drop us a question on a video. Like we're around. There's plenty of ways to hit us up, and we are more than, for better or for worse, Todd and I are more than capable of geeking out on Scrum for a very long period of time. So be careful. If you ask a question, you might get a very long answer.
Yeah, I might take you up on that. But those videos are really good because they're like 10 minutes or whatever. And that's just enough time for my brain to, dip in and dip out. So I love
Perfect.
them.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, we appreciate it. I think that's good.
The link to Agile for Humans is already in chat.
Oh, love it.
And
Thank you.
what I want to say is that it was definitely one of the best events from Agile with Ukraine. Of course, we're saying it to every speakers, but this time it's really true.
Okay.
And obviously, one of the best from 7, so it's in top 7.
There we
Or
go.
somewhere in the top. So thanks a lot, guys, for joining us in this not ideal time, maybe for you, or maybe you do prefer to speak before lunch.
It's great.
It's also an option. Yeah, we've collected some money, but we will give you a chance to donate a bit more in nearest hours, so guys can double the portion of donate. And have a good evening or good day if you are still with us.
It's great seeing familiar faces and meeting some new ones. So
yeah, be sure to connect up, like and subscribe on YouTube, stay connected, ask us questions, leave us comments. We love helping out. So let us know how we can.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was awesome.
Thanks.
And to be honest, I'm gonna speak on behalf of myself. So this one hour and a half, it helped me rest and switch my mind off, nasty stuff. So thank you a lot for that.
Yeah,
it was a
this
great
time
evening.
Great.
I feel like it was real participant in before wartime, so it was really switching context. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it was first time when I've donated to our initiative during event.
During the event, not just
during the event.
but during the event.
Good.
And now, Andrei, you can turn off the recording and we can say the truth.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Stay tuned.
Thank you so very much.
Of course.
Guys, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thank you.
Take care.